Good evening on what is a bright, warm and sunny day. It is Wednesday the 12th of July. I'm in the reading it with a nice hot cup of tea. And a box to unbox. I'm going to do a bit of a bonus unboxing here because I'm going to unbox this, which is a Dungeon Crawl Classics 1, published in 2003 by Goodman Games for the D20 system, yes, for Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition. It's an all-new module for any fantasy campaign. It's an adventure for character levels 1 to 3. Idylls of the Rat King by Geoffrey Quinn. Now, you see, the interesting thing is that this is meant to look like a module from the past, specifically from the late 70s and early 80s, because it has the blurb on the front and a list of other titles available on the back, including sort of like a piece of strip artwork. So, just gonna flip that over. So let's see. Remember the good old days when adventures were underground, NPCs were there to be killed, and the finale of every dungeon was the dragon on the 20th level. These days are back. Dungeon Crawl Classics adventures don't waste your time with long-winded speeches, weird campaign settings, or NPCs who aren't meant to be killed. Each adventure is 100% good, solid dungeon crawl, with monsters you know, traps you remember, and the secret doors you know are there somewhere. Idylls of the Rat King was awarded an honourable mention for Best Adventure in the 2003 Gen Con Emmy Awards. In Idylls of the Rat King, goblin bandits are once again attacking the silver caravans, killing innocent miners and stealing cargo. The goblins have taken up residence in an abandoned mine northwest of Silverton. Someone must get rid of them, but this is no more than ordinary abandoned mine. It was deliberately barricaded generations ago when the Ganu family, founders of Silverton, discovered an unspeakable evil on its lowest levels. And these are no ordinary goblins, for the curse of the Ganu family courses through their veins. So, what we have is a kind of a classic event. This is a classic set of adventure, and open up, and we have the maps you kind of remember from back in the day, with the white on the blue background, intentionally designed, so it said, so you couldn't photocopy them. Very annoying. So let me show you the map, and I have to say, from the start, these maps are terrible. I mean, you know, they're functional, but they're not interesting. And it's the same again on the back page of the lower levels. These maps are just boring. You know, there's nothing to engage the player in them. There's nothing to engage the game master in them, unfortunately. Anyway, so we open up, we get further forward, and we have a bit more of a. So you've got the encounter with the rat creatures in the mines, and you've got the player characters outside the mines on the frontispiece. We've got an introduction, an adventure summary with a game master's section, an encounter table, and so on. And as we remember, this is a good 14 years or so. I'd say 10 years, I think, something like that, before we have the appearance of Goodman Games Dungeon Crawl Classics, a role-playing game in its own right, because this series would, go through the D20 system. It would go through Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. It would go through 4th edition before it got to the game it is today. So anyway, we have the encounter table and some advice on scaling and how to get the characters involved and the possibility of character death. And then backgrounds, we've got history of Silverton, content for the GM's Eyes Only section explaining what actually is going on, and the player beginning with the abandoned level, Silver Mine level 1, the Goblin Lair, Wandering Monsters, areas of the map, and so on. And you're just going to essentially have descriptions of each of the individual locations, and each one you have area 1.5 in it, in a guard post, essentially. Let's have a look. Essentially, effective level 1 with description and then details down below. So it's got a section you would read, the game master will read out to her players. It will give you the tactics for any monsters encountered there, anything to be found, and then the stats themselves. And it might be more detailed than that depending upon the locations. So yeah, in a location you might have some arrow traps, and mark those clearly with a little bit of a bold text, making it easy to read. So it's quite a lot of text, quite a lot of blocks of text to read. Then we have a major encounter, you see basically between the player characters and the goblins. There's quite a bit of action going on there, with the mage firing off a blast in the background, annoying the goblins and sort of like the ratkin. So essentially, what you've got is goblin rat lycanthropes involved, and we get onto the lower area. Silver mine, level 2, goblin warrens. So after the general overview of the level, you've got descriptions of the different locations. And here we have details of the first really sort of proper encounter with the weirats. Basically weirrat goblins, including weirrat goblins, goblin forms, weirrat goblins, dire-rat form, weirrat goblin hybrid form. So essentially you've got 3 sets of stats here. So there are the goblins. Turn over the page and you have weirrat goblin form, then dire-rat form, and then hybrid form, which sort of takes up an awful lot of information. And so we've got secret chambers and things like daycare areas for the goblins. Basically the torture chamber. We've got the stats for the torturer and the jailer, and an area essentially where the player characters will discover some undead, but possibly some treasure. Including a silver storage, and there's a temple of the rat gods where the were-rats hold sway. We even have a zombie closet. Can your zombies come out of the closet? That's a question you've got to ask yourself when you're running this module. So lots of areas where there are silver storage because it was a silver mine. And then we get down to abandoned silver mine level 3, the zombie mines. And so here it's infested by the undead, so it's got a bit of a change of pace, and hopefully by this time player characters will have gained a level or 2, so that the actual level 3 isn't that big before we get onto abandoned mine level 4 layer of the Rat King. So similar thing, Wandering Monsters, overview of the region before we get onto the areas of the map. Encountering the real danger in there, which is the ancient sleeping evil, to be found at the bottom of the mine. So that's actually quite a big encounter. So that actually takes up sort of like a whole page, and there you see the actual evil, a vampire unleashed, who is also a sorceress 5, a sorcerer level 5, because essentially, if you remember back with Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition, you can combine classes and monsters to make them even more powerful. So lots of different goblins down, even a goblin wizards in here. We have some more were-rats connected with the Ganu family. That's the secret there. They're keeping hidden. And we include the secret tomb of the Ganu family. And we've got a conclusion. Essentially, rewards and XP rewards for completing each of the sections with the objectives. And then, as in the appendix, you actually have the Silverton area described and a map of Silverton itself, player handouts. What you can do with the Silverton area is the idea is that you could just cut to the adventure, get on with it from this point here, and have the player characters start, you know, area level 1, the hidden entrance, go. But with this at the back, you have the option to sort of like bring the player characters into Silverton, have them interact with an NPC or two, gather some information, and then go off to the mine. Kind of classic Dungeons and Dragons kind of style play anyway. And then they'll probably, you know, they'll learn some information, be able to use that in the mine, learn some more, and apply that information when they come back out. I mean, that's the kind of structure you've got to the story. And in the back, okay, so essentially you've got map scrap to give out as a handout, another handout, and of course the other section of the map. So, that's Dungeon Crawl Classics, Idylls of the Rat King. It is a very kind of basic sort of looking module, but it's actually got a lot of depth in there in terms of storytelling, in terms of the threat that the player characters will face down there. It's a bit more complex than this blurb, you know, says, you know, remember the good old days when Adventures Underground, NPCs were there to be killed, and the finale of every dungeon was a dragon on 20th level. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. Yes, there are big monsters to be killed. Yes, there are villains, but the module does make an attempt to make those villains interesting and a threat and a challenge to your player characters. And the player characters can also interact with them as much as they can fight them, although that's what they will probably do. Anyway, and it's interesting that this is 20 years old, and it's not, and I don't think it's been reprinted or updated at least for Dungeon Crawl Classics. It's probably right for it. Would it be interesting to see this given the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game treatment? Anyway, thanks for watching another unboxing in the Nook. If you enjoyed this, then please do click on the like button down below, and of course if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me out here with a box containing a book or game which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. In the meantime, thanks for watching an unboxing in the Nook video. I will be back again tomorrow with another one. Bye for now.